CRNdigitalTalkRadio.com. Welcome back. You're listening to Cindy Laverty Show on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Thanks for joining me. My guest today is Matthew Walker, and we're talking about his book, Adventure in Everything. A great book asking you to look at your life a little bit differently. Matt, thanks for joining me today. It's great to have you here. Is it okay if I call you Matt?
Oh, you bet.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we were talking about this is about how we can reframe our day-to-day lives to see adventure in everything that we do, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your company is called Inner Passage. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the company is called Inner Passage, and what we do is we facilitate for organizations and for individuals experiences that highlight this sense of adventure. Sometimes we do it out in the wilderness. We do rock climbing camps and mountain climbing experiences.
That's what you want me to come and do, right?
I think that's what you're scheduled to do in March.
Okay, good.
But then we also do it, through private coaching and through workshops in the boardroom. So it's a little bit of both.
Oh, interesting. So people can find you at innerpassage.net, right?
They can, and I encourage people to actually go to a different site, which is the site for the book, adventureineverything.com.
Okay, that's easy.
And they can check out the book there. They can download the first chapter for free and get a taster for what this topic is all about.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so I'm guessing that what we find in today's world is that most people don't wake up in the morning thinking about daily adventures, but you say in the book very clearly that we can do that.
Right. Now, I also state in the book that we don't want everything in our lives to be adventures, that there are, we want some routine. We want to wake up and brush our teeth and take a shower, and those things we don't always want to be adventures. We want something static. But to keep ourselves engaged and present, we need that sense of adventure. And so what I propose is that it's possible to have two types of adventures in our lives. One in a larger sense, in a sense of our highest endeavors, the things that have the most meaning in our lives, the key relationships, the work that we do, the way we're engaged in community. So in a big picture sense, these ideas of adventure in our lives. And then I also advocate for adventure in the everyday. And that is making sure that we are present in what we're doing during that day, that we're not on autopilot, but we're actually making very significant intentional choices and testing ourselves throughout each day, and that's what keeps us engaged and off the treadmill, off that feeling of repetition.
So what do you think is keeping people from living our life as an adventure? What in your experience, I mean, because you're all over the place, what do you think that is?
I think, I just had this conversation yesterday with a client, and I think it boils down to one significant topic, and that is fear. And it is fear around
that little four-letter word that creeps up almost every Friday and every show I do.
And it's around uncertainty, and this desire. And right now we're in a very tumultuous time, and we desire some certainty. And it's one of those things, the more that we fight for control, the less control that we have.
Yeah.
So to boil it down to one succinct piece, I think it's around fear, specifically around the perception of risk versus the actual risk.
And it just becomes easier for us to go through life kind of on autopilot.
Yeah, because of the perception of risk, the perception of what could happen is often not in alignment with what the actuality is.
Right.
And so we build up these stories, and we close ourselves down, and we keep ourselves from being able to engage in what's happening around us because of these possibilities, no matter how minute they are. That things, may not work out.
I think we all have that big fear voice that talks to us all the time, but we also have this inner voice, and I think it's quieter, a little more subtle. Why don't more of us listen to that inner voice?
I think there's a battle that goes on between our heart and our head.
Yeah, for sure.
and I think we're so accustomed to thinking critically and analytically and giving that voice more credence as opposed to listening to our heart. I think, in tough decision making, often we know the right decision long before we actually commit to it.
Right.
And it's usually the one that's in alignment with our heart. And so I think I think that's one of the key pieces is that we don't give our heart enough credence and instead go that analytical place.
And the fear voice is really just sort of the ego telling us to stay stuck, and it's there to protect us.
It is there to protect us.
Sometimes it really gets in the way, I have to say.
Right. And I think it's that thing that, if we distill down what the fear is, that, a shift in our job may mean we may, get laid off, or that, and then if we take that, one step further and one step further and one step further, that we'll become destitute, unemployed,
right,
homeless, and then die.
Right.
And, that's not a realistic progression.
Just because you think it doesn't mean it's so.
Exactly.
Well,
so what I really ask people to do in the book and in the work is start to look at experiences in our lives that debunk that myth, that highlight when we have acted from a place of courage and strength, and then and start to see that it actually is more present in our lives than we often give it credit for.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you have 5 elements of adventure that you discuss in the book and how we apply that. So I want to just start going through those so people really get a sense of what this is. You touched on high endeavor, but tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so the 5 elements are high endeavor, uncertain outcome.
Ooh.
I know. Total commitment, tolerance for adversity, and great companionship.
Right.
And so when I think about high endeavor, I think of high endeavor as kind of this unique conglomeration of our values, of our interests, of our strengths, all those pieces come together in a way that we then present those to the world. So for some people, a high endeavor may be climbing Mount Everest or swimming the English Channel or something like that. For other people, a high endeavor is quilting for as a part of like hospice care or something like that. It's not about replicating what someone else has done. That high endeavor truly is honoring that heart, that voice within us that says this is something that engages me and inspires me and allows me to give to my community and give to the world. You have
a statistic in your book which I found really astounding, and you say that only 45% of Americans are satisfied with their work.
Yes.
That's really sad.
I know. That's from the Gallup organization. And the piece there around that level of satisfaction that I find is that oftentimes, that doesn't mean that the other 55% need to leave their jobs or find new jobs. But instead, it's about seeing how their personal values, what drives them as an individual, inspires them and is activated in the work that they do. So what I mean by that is that, so you may work as a bellhop at a hotel or concierge or something like that. And on the surface of it, you may think, I'm just going in and get a paycheck, get my tips, and go home. And I may not be that satisfied with it. But then if I ask myself a sincere question as to why am I doing this job versus another job that's out there, that boils down to that you really enjoy, and you enjoy helping people. Right.
All right, I got to take a quick break. Stay with us. You're listening to the Cindy Laverty Show. I'll be right back with Matt Walker.